The planet Zephora was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Towering crystalline spires stretched into a sky that shimmered in shades of violet and gold. The air vibrated with a low hum, a sound that seemed to come from the very stones beneath their feet. For centuries, Zephora's people had built a society of order, power, and precision. They valued strength above all else, believing that only those who dominated or commanded could survive. Aliens from neighboring star systems whispered stories of the Zephyrians' fearlessness, their unmatched strategy, and their unyielding pride. And yet, one human stepped onto their planet without fear: Captain Elias Arden. The human diplomat walked through the landing chamber with measured steps. Unlike the armored Zephyrian guards surrounding him, he wore simple clothing, a dark tunic, practical trousers, and a cloak to ward off the chill of the high-altitude city. His hands were empty. He carried no weapons. And yet there was an unmistakable weight to him, calm authority that made even the toughest-looking Zephyrians hesitate. He was here on a mission of peace. A minor border dispute between the human colonies on the edge of Zephyrian space and the Zephyrian patrols had escalated dangerously. Now, it fell to Elias to negotiate, to find a solution without spilling blood. For most, the task seemed impossible. The Zephyrians were proud, inflexible, and suspicious of humans. But Elias had faced such challenges before. He had a skill that many overlooked. Humans, as weak as they seemed, could possess courage that was unshakable. Watching from a balcony above, the grand landing hall was Princess Liara. Her silver hair fell in precise waves over her shoulders, and her eyes, sharp as polished amethyst, studied every move of the human. Liara had grown up believing that humans were small, fragile creatures. Their colonies were scattered and poorly armed. They survived by chance, by luck, or by clever tricks. She expected fear from this human, or at least nervousness. What she did not expect was composure. The council chamber waited for them both. It was an enormous hall carved from a single piece of violet stone, stretching high above with arches that glimmered like frozen lightning. The Zephyrian council members were seated along a crescent dais, their robes decorated with crystalline insignias that reflected the light. The humans accompanying Elias were few just to assistance, but they moved with quiet confidence. Captain Arden called out the council head, a tall Zephyrian named Varan, whose voice could cut through stone if he wished. You stand before the council of Zephora. Speak and explain why your people dare trespass into our space. Elias bowed slightly, as was proper in Zephyrian custom. Honorable council, he said. His voice was calm, steady, but carried a firmness that demanded attention. We do not come to trespass. We come to resolve a misunderstanding before it becomes a conflict. Humans do not seek war, nor do we seek dominance over Zephora. We seek understanding and mutual respect. A murmur ran through the chamber. Zephyrians rarely spoke of respect, only superiority. And here was a human, unarmed and alone, daring to speak of equality. Princess Liara leaned forward, curious. There was something different about him, something she had never seen in any alien species. His eyes did not dart in fear. His shoulders did not shrink under pressure. And the calm in his tone, the careful choice of words, it was a type of courage she had only read about in history's scrolls. Varan narrowed his eyes. Respect is earned, human. Your species has done nothing to earn our trust. What proof do we have that your words are not lies? Elias met Voran's gaze without flinching. Trust is built through action, not intimidation, he replied. And I am here to act. Let us find solutions together rather than escalate conflict. Another council member, a sharp-eyed alien named Terev, sneered. You are small. You are weak. And yet you stand here, demanding solutions? Perhaps you do not understand the consequences of failure. Oh, I understand them perfectly, Elias said softly. His calmness did not weaken. But threats will not change the truth. Humanity survives because we face our challenges with courage and honesty. We are not afraid to confront danger, even when it seems overwhelming. And I believe Zephora is capable of the same. Together, we can prevent needless bloodshed. Silence fell over the chamber. The council members whispered among themselves. They were not used to this. Aliens did not usually act so boldly when facing the Zephyrian Council. Fear was the usual response. Hesitation was expected. But not calm. Resolve. Lyra's heart beat faster. She felt a strange mixture of disbelief and admiration. Could this really be true? Could a human so fragile in appearance hold such unbreakable courage? She watched him, frozen in awe, as he continued to speak with unwavering confidence. Captain Arden Vorn said finally, his voice low, "You speak of courage, but courage without strength is meaningless. Humans are fragile. You have no power here. If you fail, your people will pay the price." Elias's expression did not change. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "but courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to act despite fear. And sometimes it is the smallest voice that makes the greatest difference." Lyra felt a chill as those words echoed through the hall. She had heard similar statements in stories, but never in reality. And yet, he was not boasting. He was stating a simple truth. The council was unsettled. They had brought a human here to intimidate, expecting him to falter. But Elias had done the opposite. He stood as if rooted in stone, calm as a river, unafraid of the power surrounding him. Varan leaned back, visibly irritated. "Very well, human. We will not decide now. You will be observed. You will be tested. Perhaps courage alone will not suffice in Zephora." Elias inclined his head. "I welcome observation. I welcome trials. Let our actions speak louder than words." After the meeting, Elias was escorted to his quarters in the palace. The halls were silent, except for the soft hum of Zephyrian energy fields. His assistants walked quietly behind him, clearly impressed. "Captain," said one, a young woman named Maris, "do you really think we can change their minds?" Elias smiled faintly. "Change begins with courage. If we do not act boldly, nothing will ever change. Fear is a choice, and so is courage. Tonight, we show them what choice humans make." Meanwhile, Princess Lyra returned to her private chambers, her mind restless. She had seen many humans in her lifetime, but none like this. His composure, his calm, his respect for truth, it was foreign to her yet compelling. She wondered what it would be like to see the galaxy through the eyes of someone who feared nothing, yet respected all. That night, she could not sleep. She replayed every word he had spoken, every gesture, every small bow and careful smile. And she realized something remarkable. She felt admiration, not fear, not condescension, but true awe. The next day brought the first of the trials. Zephyra's council had designed challenges to test Elias's courage and resolve. These were not meant to harm him physically, but to push him to break, to reveal weakness. The first challenge was a public forum, where the council would hurl lies, accusations, and provocations at him in front of the entire city. As he stepped into the arena, he could see thousands of Zephyrians gathered, their eyes sharp and curious. Many expected him to falter, to bow, to beg, but Elias walked with steady confidence. He faced each accusation with calm answers, each provocation with dignity, and each lie with reason. Princess Lyra watched from her seat above, holding her breath. Every time he spoke, she felt a mixture of shock and wonder. He did not shout. He did not threaten, and yet every word he spoke carried weight. Slowly, she began to smile. Here was courage unlike any she had known. Here was humanity at its best. By the end of the day, murmurs spread through the crowd. Humans were small, fragile, and weak, but this human was different. He had something in him that no weapon, no technology, no threat could break. And Princess Lyra, still watching, felt something stirring inside her. Respect, awe, perhaps even inspiration. Elias had arrived on Zephora as a diplomat, negotiator, but he had done more than that. He had shown the Zephyrians, in the simplest and most powerful way, that courage was not measured by size, power, or fearlessness alone. It was measured by the heart. The next morning on Zephora, The air was thick with anticipation. Word of the human diplomat's calm in the council chamber had spread quickly. Citizens gathered in the high streets and terraces, their eyes turned toward the palace, whispering in curiosity and disbelief. Many could not understand how a human, so small and fragile, could stand unwavering before the council, whose power and authority intimidated even the strongest Zephyrians. Inside the palace, Captain Elias Arden prepared himself for the first formal trial. He had expected resistance, even hostility, but the Zephyrians were more determined than he had imagined. The trials were designed to test every part of him, mind, body, and spirit. The council sought not just to intimidate him, but to reveal a weakness, any crack in his composure. Princess Liara observed from her balcony. Her eyes, wide with curiosity, followed Elias as he walked into the ceremonial chamber. She had spent the night replaying his words and actions in her mind. The human's courage had left a mark on her, one she could not ignore. There was something in him that went beyond bravery. It was a kind of inner strength that could not be measured by weapons or power. The first trial was a test of judgment. Zephyr's council had designed a scenario where Elias had to negotiate a difficult dispute between two alien factions on the planet. The factions were fierce and proud, each claiming the same valuable resource. If Elias made the wrong choice, Zephyrians warned, it could spark a violent conflict. As he entered the chamber, Elias studied the two alien leaders. Their scales glimmered. With iridescent colors, their claws sharp and poised. The tension was palpable. Yet Elias did not flinch. He spoke calmly, addressing each leader with respect, listening carefully to their arguments before responding. "You humans are fragile," one leader hissed, "and yet you speak as though you hold wisdom. Do you not fear failure?" Elias shook his head. "This fear is natural," he replied. "But acting with understanding and fairness can prevent disaster. Strength is not only in weapons, but in decisions that preserve life." The leaders paused, surprised by his tone. It was not fear, not pleading, not weakness. It was reason. Slowly, they began to consider his words. While they did not fully agree, they agreed to a compromise that prevented bloodshed. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Zephyrians were astonished. This human, who should have been powerless, had solved a conflict that could have led to war. Liara's heart raced. She could not hide her admiration any longer. Courage was one thing, but wisdom combined with courage? That was something she had never witnessed. The second trial was far more intense. The council wanted to test Elias under fear. They called it the Trial of Shadows. In a dark chamber, illusions of destruction, fire, and death were projected all around him. Holographic monsters lunged from walls, and the floor trembled beneath his feet. Most Zephyrians would have faltered, their senses overwhelmed. Elias closed his eyes briefly, taking a deep breath. He focused not on the illusions, but on the truth around him. The chamber was empty. The monsters were projections, and no real harm would come to him. Yet fear was real, and he acknowledged it silently, letting it sharpen his senses rather than paralyze him. A massive holographic beast roared, its eyes glowing red. People in the gallery gasped. Zephyrians had rarely seen a human endure fear so calmly. While others would have screamed or panicked, Elias moved forward with steady steps, avoiding danger and speaking softly to himself. Courage is action, even when fear is present. By the end of the trial, the illusions vanished, and Elias remained standing, unshaken. He had faced fear itself and refused to let it control him. Princess Liara leaned forward, nearly holding her breath. Every heartbeat of admiration made her chest tighten. She realized something profound. Courage was not the absence of fear, but mastery over it. The third trial was perhaps the most difficult. It was a trial of words. In the grand forum, Zephyrian scholars and citizens hurled accusations, lies, and provocations at him. They spoke of human inferiority, their weakness, and their supposed deceit. They challenged every statement he had made, trying to expose flaws in his reasoning or character. Elias listened patiently, never raising his voice. When they attacked, he responded with clarity and logic, refusing to insult or belittle anyone. Instead, he turned each challenge into an opportunity to show empathy, patience, and understanding. "You humans are small," one scholar sneered. "You have nothing to offer the galaxy. Why should we respect you?" Elias met the scholar's gaze steadily. "Humans may be small," he admitted, "but courage, empathy, and honesty are not measured by size. Every species has value. Every life has meaning. Respect is not given to the strongest, but to those who act rightly and honorably." The crowd was silent. The words were simple, yet they carried weight. Even among the Zephyrians who valued strength above all else, there was an unmistakable ripple of respect. Princess Liara felt a warmth in her chest. She had grown up in a world that admired power and feared weakness. Yet here was a human, proving that true strength was not in dominance, but in courage, honor, and moral clarity. She was captivated, unable to look away. The trials continued for several days. Elias faced challenges that tested his intellect, his patience, and his physical endurance. Each time, he responded with calm determination. He did not cheat, he did not fight unfairly, and he did not yield to intimidation. His courage was steady, unwavering, and inspiring. The Zephyrian Council grew frustrated. They had expected a human to falter, to show fear, to beg for mercy. Instead, they had found someone who refused to break. Someone who, despite being weak in their eyes, displayed a form of strength they had never considered. Even the citizens, who had watched from the galleries, began to murmur in admiration. Stories of the human's courage spread through the city like wildfire. Children whispered his name with wonder, and scholars debated his words and actions late into the night. Liara, meanwhile, could not stop thinking about him. She walked the palace halls in quiet reflection, replaying each trial in her mind. The way he had spoken to the alien factions, the way he had faced illusions without flinching, the way he had turned insults into lessons moment left her more in awe. She realized that this human had something that many Zephyrians, even herself, lacked: a courage born of principle, not fear of death or desire for power. On the final day of trials, the council arranged a test that combined all the previous challenges: a public debate before the citizens, an impossible negotiation, and a test of moral judgment. The stakes were high. Failure could mean disgrace for the humans and humiliation for the council. Yet Elias faced it all without hesitation. He listened carefully, spoke clearly, and acted decisively. When accusations flew, he met them with calm reason. When threats loomed, he met them with integrity. When impossible choices arose, he weighed each option with fairness. And when the crowd gasped at his courage, he did not boast, did not gloat. He simply remained steadfast. By the end of the day, the chamber was silent. Even the council members, proud and unyielding, could not deny what they had witnessed. Elias Arden, a human, small and fragile, had faced every challenge with courage that no Zephyrian could ignore. Princess Liara stepped forward from her balcony. She had waited for this moment, compelled by admiration she could not suppress. She approached Elias as the crowd dispersed, her eyes shining. You are remarkable," she said softly. "I have seen many beings in my life, but none have shown courage like yours. You do not fear, yet you respect life. You do not demand, yet you command attention. How can a human be so strong?" Elias smiled gently. "Strength is not measured by power or size, Princess Liara," he replied. "It is measured by the courage to stand for what is right, even when the world expects you to yield. Humans may be small, but our hearts, our principles, and our courage, these are not small at all." Liara felt a rush of admiration that left her breathless. For the first time, she began to question the very foundation of Zephyrian society, the obsession with power, intimidation, and fear. Could courage, empathy, and honesty really be stronger than force? Could a single human change the way her people saw the universe? For Elias, the trials were not about winning or proving superiority. They were about showing that cooperation, understanding, and courage could achieve what force never could. And in doing so, he had already planted the seeds of change, not only in the Zephyrians' minds, but in the heart of Princess Liara herself. That evening, as the twin sons of Zephyra set, casting the crystalline towers in shades of purple and gold, Liara stood alone on her balcony. She thought about the human, about his courage, his calm, and his unwavering principles. She realized that she had witnessed something extraordinary, not just bravery, but a new way of seeing the universe. The following morning on Zephora dawned bright, yet heavy with expectation. The city seemed alive in a way Elias had never felt before. The air buzzed with energy, not from the hum of machinery or the sparkle of crystals, but from whispers of admiration. News of the human diplomat's trials had spread throughout the palace and the city. Citizens, guards, even minor officials spoke in hushed tones about how he had stood unwavering before impossible challenges. Princess Liara woke early, her mind restless. She had spent the night thinking of Elias and the courage he had shown. It was not merely his ability to withstand trials or face danger, it was the way he did so with dignity, empathy, and wisdom. She felt a mixture of admiration and unease. Admiration, because he had shown something truly extraordinary. Unease, because his courage had quietly questioned the very principles Zephora had always held dear. When she arrived at the council chambers, Elias was already present, calm as ever. Today was the final stage, a public audience with the council and the citizens of Zephora. The purpose was not just to test his courage, but to determine if humans could truly be trusted as equals. The stakes were high, and the chamber was packed with the most influential figures in Zephora, Varan. The council head cleared his throat, his voice sharp and commanding. "Captain Arden," he said, "you have endured our trials. You have shown courage beyond expectation. Yet courage alone does not ensure understanding. Today, you must demonstrate your ability to guide, to inspire, and to negotiate solutions that will benefit all, not just humans." Elias nodded. "I understand, Honorable Varan," he said, his voice steady and clear. "I will speak honestly, and I will act with the best interests of all parties in mind. Humans believe that cooperation and empathy are stronger than intimidation. I hope today I can show Zephora the same." Liara watched closely as Elias began. He stood in the center of the grand hall, the light of Zephyr's twin suns filtering through the crystalline arches above. His posture was relaxed but firm, his gaze steady. He spoke to the council, then to the citizens, then to the alien factions who had come to observe. "You have seen my trials," Elias began, "and you have judged me. You have tested my courage, my judgment, and my integrity. But I did not endure these challenges to prove humans are superior. I endured them to show that courage, honesty, and respect are qualities that can unite all species. Power alone does not create peace. Strength alone does not build trust. Only understanding and empathy can do that." A murmur ran through the crowd. Zephyrians rarely heard such words, spoken with calm conviction. Usually, speeches were filled with pride, threats, or boasts. Elias's words carried neither arrogance nor fear. They carried truth. Varan frowned. "And what would you propose, human?" "That Zephora bend to humans because of principles." "That is foolish." Elias shook his head. "Not at all. I propose cooperation. I propose mutual respect. Each species brings its own strengths to the table. Humans are small, yes, but our courage, creativity, and empathy allow us to survive challenges you may not expect. Zephora is strong, clever, and disciplined. Together we can achieve far more than either of us alone." Princess Liara could not look away. His words were simple, yet they carried weight that no Zephyrian council decree could match. She felt a new understanding stir within her. Perhaps her people had been wrong to believe that strength and intimidation were the highest virtues. Perhaps true courage and true leadership required more than dominance. One council member, a rigid alien named Terev, stood and sneered. "Do you think words alone can change centuries of tradition? You are small, fragile, and naive. How do you expect us to trust you?" Elias smiled faintly. "Trust is built through action, not words alone. I have shown you through my trials that humans do not falter in the face of danger. We endure fear, challenge, and provocation, yet we act with honesty and integrity. If Zephora chooses to see humans Not as weak creatures, but as allies. I promise we will honor that trust." The citizens and minor officials watched silently. They had expected failure, humiliation, or weakness. Yet here was a human, small in size, but enormous in courage, standing unshaken in front of the most powerful council in the galaxy. Liara stepped forward, her voice clear and firm. "Captain Arden," she said, "I have watched you. I have seen your courage, your wisdom, and your respect for life. You have proven to me that strength is not only measured by power or fear. Humans may be small, but their hearts are extraordinary." The council was silent. None of them had spoken in such a way before, least of all a princess. Her words carried authority, but also genuine admiration. Elias inclined his head respectfully. "Thank you, Princess Liara. Your words mean more than you know. Humans respect all who act with courage and honor, and you have shown both in observing these trials." Voron's voice cut through the chamber, sharp and skeptical. "And yet, Princess, you would allow this human to influence our council? You would let a species we consider weak dictate terms?" Liara met his gaze evenly. "I am not asking for influence. I am asking for understanding. This human has shown us that courage, empathy, and reason are not weaknesses. They are strengths. If Zephora is to grow, we must recognize these truths." "I stand with him not because he is human, but because he is right," the council murmured. Some were outraged, some confused, and some quietly impressed. Change was rare in Zephora, and yet it was happening before their eyes. Elias took a deep breath. "Honorable Council, citizens of Zephora," he said, "I came here seeking peace and understanding. I leave here knowing that Zephora has the potential to become even greater. Not through fear or domination, but through courage, empathy, and respect. Let us work together to ensure a future where all species can thrive." The chamber was silent for a moment. Then, slowly, members of the council began to nod. Some exchanged quiet words. A few even smiled. The human had not demanded anything. He had not threatened. And yet, through courage and principle, he had changed hearts and minds. Liara felt a surge of pride and hope. She had always believed in courage, but she had never seen it so pure, so undeniable, so capable of inspiring even the strongest and most proud. For the first time, she imagined a Zephora that could embrace other species, that could learn, grow, and evolve beyond fear and dominance. Later, as Elias prepared to depart for his next mission, Liara approached him privately. The palace gardens shimmered in the late light, crystals reflecting the twin suns' golden glow. "You've done more than I imagined," she said softly. "You have shown my people, and me, what courage really means. Not force, not fear, not power, but standing firm in truth, in honor, and in respect." Elias smiled. "That is all any of us can do, Princess. Courage is not about defeating others. It is about standing for what is right, even when the world expects you to yield. Zephora has remarkable people, Princess. I see that in you. I hope the future you help build will reflect that strength." Liara nodded, her eyes glistening. "I will do my best. Humans are small, fragile, and yet you have shown us how much we can learn from you. I will not forget this lesson." Elias inclined his head, bowing slightly. "And I will not forget Zephora. There is greatness here, waiting to grow. I hope we meet again under better circumstances where courage and cooperation guide us both." As he departed, the citizens and council members watched. Whispers of admiration and newfound respect filled the air. The city seemed brighter, not just from the twin suns, but from the hope and understanding that had begun to bloom. The human diplomat had arrived as an outsider, small and fragile in the eyes of Zephora. He left as a symbol of courage, principle, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. Princess Liara stood alone in the palace gardens, watching the departing human ship. Her mind was alive with possibilities. The lessons she had learned, the courage she had witnessed, and the inspiration she had felt, these would guide her as she worked to change Zephora for the better. For the first time in her life, she realized that true courage could inspire not just individuals, but entire worlds. And it had come in the form of a small human, standing unbroken, unyielding, and unforgettable. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting violet and gold light over the crystalline towers. Princess Liara felt a quiet determination. Zephora would never be the same. And perhaps humanity had shown her species the greatest lesson of all, that courage is not measured by size or power, but by the strength of the heart and the unbreakable will to do what is right. Elias Arden's mission had ended. But the story he had begun would continue for Zephora, for humanity, and for the galaxy that watched and learned from the courage of one remarkable human.